So it'll be a committee of one. We have a variety of issues. So Erica, good to see you.
Morning.
We're live and on whatever we're supposed to be on, so let's take up item number one.
No.
Item one. Lisa, did you?
I believe the commissioner is not in attendance at this moment.
She's not coming.
Yeah, good. Good. We're going to forward this on to City Council. I've met with her. We'll let my colleagues have an opportunity to discuss. And I'm going to check with the councilman of the 8th District to make sure that she meets with the councilman of the 8th before it's scheduled in council. Good. Super. Item two.
Okay, great.
And approval on one.
Okay, number one is approved and forwarded to council. Item number two is the LA for Kids Steering Committee report relative to the allocation and reallocation of Proposition 40 funds for various projects.
Did anybody here say hi?
Hi. Lori Hancock, CAO. The request that's before you is a reallocation of $700,000 in Prop 40 funds, which consists of $360,000 in RZH and $337,000 in Prop 40 per capita. These funds are requested to be reallocated between projects so that these funds can be expended in a timely manner. The grant liquidates on 6/30/11.
Great. And the council members of the districts that are involved have been notified?
Yes, they have.
And
I do
approved?
have one technical correction. Fernangeles Rec Center is in CD6, not CD7.
Say it again?
Fernangeles Rec Center is in CD6, not CD7.
All right, so we'll correct that, Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Okay, recommend approval. Item number three, and we do have a card.
And item number three is a report from the LA for Kids Steering Committee relative to finding that the skateboard park portion of the Southeast San Fernando Valley Roller and Skateboard Rink Regional Project will substantially serve youth from the Southeast San Fernando Valley.
Great. I'll call for the card after the report.
Good morning, Councilmember Bernice Hollins, Office of the CEO. The LA for Kids Steering Committee is recommending that Council make a finding in this matter that a project proposed by CD6 satisfies the intent of the ballot measure which established the Prop K program. As you're aware, that ballot measure provided for 183 specified projects that the city is obligated to complete. This includes $4 million that's set aside for acquisition development of a roller and skate rink in the Southeast San Fernando Valley. CD6 has proposed to use half of the specified award to acquire and develop a skate park on Sheldon Street in the Sun Valley La Tuna Canyon community. A majority of the RVNOC members, community members that are appointed by council to recommend program budget priorities, have voted in favor of this project. However, the Valley RVNOC chair has noted opposition in 2 letters that are attached to the report on the basis that the site is located half a mile north of an informal boundary defining the northern limit for the Southeast Valley, namely Roscoe Boulevard. City Attorney has advised that absent formal boundaries, a determination in this matter should be based in part on community input. At this point, the proposed Prop K budget for next year includes $100,000 that would be used for pre-design and design activities. Those activities would include soliciting additional community input. Upon completion of the project, the general fund impact to fund operation and maintenance expenses is expected to impact the general fund in an amount not yet determined. I don't know if you want me to go into the particulars of the...
No, because there's still much work to do, but
Yes.
It does have the support of the councilman of the district,
Yes,
and it does have support of community members.
from a majority of the RVNOC membership.
Right. Now, we do have one card, so I appreciate your report, Bernice. Mr. Bill Eck, and we do have a letter here. Thank you very much.
Yes. Yes, my name is Bill Ike, E-I-C-K. I'm the head.
Excuse me, I missed the I.
Not a
I missed
problem.
the I.
That's fine.
Okay.
I've been the chairman of the RVNAC committee for the Valley for about 10 years. This is a citizen-funded, voted upon bond issue. And the bond specifically says in the Southeast Valley. The City of Los Angeles recognizes Roscoe Boulevard as the north-south boundary for the City of Los Angeles. for the North Valley and the South Valley. If you look at the North Valley Area Planning Commission, the South Valley Area Planning Commission, for planning purposes, that's what it is. For the police department, that's what it is. And this is just nothing but a power grab to attempt to take $2 million that belongs in the Southeast Valley. That would be your district and other districts for a skate park and move it into the North Valley. There's the bond issue does not say, and oh, by the way, the city council gets to determine, where people might use it. Well, people might use it any place. But it specifically says the Southeast Valley. This is a matter of law. This is not a matter of discretion for the city of Los Angeles, for the council members, or anybody else. It's a voter-approved initiative. And when this project was first proposed back in 96, when the bond issue was passed, there was a roller rink in the Southeast Valley on either Lancashire or Vineland that was proposed. That was what this was supposed to be used for. This is not to be used in the Northeast San Fernando. I'm not saying they don't need a skate park there. They can have a skate park there, but just not with this bond money. They need to go find other money for it. I would appreciate that, realize that you're a committee of one here, but this really is a matter of voter approval and not a matter of council discretion. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ike.
Correct.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ike. Bernice, if you could return to the table. What I'm going to do is ask our city attorney to take this in as a copy of a letter from Mr. Ike and address, if you officially look at it. To answer the questions, and Mr. Drucker is here as well, joining you. I support parks everywhere. I support activities everywhere that can be funded. I also know it's important to try to do that. His comments about the line, and is he on an official advisory group for the city of Los Angeles?
Yes, it is an official oversight.
But he's on the official oversight committee. So he's official.
Yes.
Right. Good job, Bill. Okay. So that being said, do you disagree with what he says?
I'm not making a personal statement on this matter. Simply the majority of the RVNOC members that he does serve, that he chairs, did vote in favor of this project. That vote was carried 6-4 in favor of, like I said, the project as proposed by CD6.
And has this been a problem in other parts of the city at all? West LA, South LA, Central City?
No, this hasn't been a problem, but this is a sort of unique situation where a project was specified for the Southeast region. The problem we have, though, is that although, as Mr. Ike said, many departments do recognize Roscoe Boulevard as the north-south divider of the valley, it's not an official designation. There's no legal, designation that says Roscoe Boulevard is the line. This project is located just slightly north of Roscoe Boulevard, about 3 blocks, and does serve both the north and southeast valley.
Right. You feel comfortable, the councilman of the district feel comfortable, the CAO went to Marshall High School, feels comfortable, so we should move forward.
Yeah, and the city attorney actually has received a number of letters from Mr. Ike and responded to them.
Good.
Marcia, yeah.
She's here tonight.
Oh, I got that, but I'm okay if you're okay. And I think it's important, because boundaries go. How many people live north and south of Roscoe? Do we know? How many people live east and west of the 405? But they all could use parks. And that's why money is used to restore the Griffith Park's wonderful observatory from the whole region, because everybody uses it, so it all works out. Okay. Do you have anything you want to add for the record, Madam City Attorney?
Just so that there is not a misimpression left, it's Marcia Gonzalez-Kimbrough in the City Attorney's Office. We do believe that it is not clear-cut, that this is squarely within what the proposition intended to accomplish. We do believe that because this facility was designated as a regional park as opposed to within a particular council district, an argument in court, if this was challenged, could be made that a regional designation means we could argue that it serves a region as opposed to a specific geographic boundary. But it is true that we could not find an official designation of what is the southeast valley. We have found a north and a south informal use by Planning Commission of Roscoe Boulevard, but it doesn't have an application. It's really more an administrative convenience boundary as to how they assign cases to be heard by which Planning Commission.
Would the deputy for the councilman like to, Mr. Carter's office, like to make a statement?
Good morning, sir. Macaria Flores, Legislative Deputy for Councilmember Tony Cardenas. Our office fully supports this project. It's a much-needed resource in the valley, and we would like this committee to move forward with the recommendation from the RV NOC and the steering committee.
Right. And the name of the park this is going in?
It doesn't have a name yet. I think it's going to be, we're going to hopefully get a name for it. Northeast San Fernando.
How many acres is the park?
It's
2.2?
Yeah, it's just over 2 acres.
Right. Okay, so I just think we should move forward, but also be prepared, because that's an argument that someone who is an appointed member of an advisory committee makes. But I also know lines are lines, and recreation is needed everywhere. And the only question I have for the CAO is they're building skate parks for less than $2 million in other cities. So I hope we can find a way to maximize these and not have the significant cost that sometimes we find ourselves in.
Actually, part of the cost is the acquisition. The construction cost of the skate park is not going to.
Oh, good. Okay, I got it. Okay,
and
good.
construction.
Acquisition and construction. Very good. Oh, that's very good. Okay.
Now, Councilmember, the steering committee did direct, because this funding is both for a roller hockey and a skate park. CD6 is only utilizing funding for a skate park. We will be contacting your office, Council Districts 2, 4, and 6 again. I'm sorry, 5 and 6 to identify a potential site for the roller hockey portion of this project.
Very good. Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank
We're going to move this forward. Thank you for your comment, sir. Next item.
Item number 4 is a report from the LA for Kids Steering Committee, a resolution and an ordinance of intention relative to the proposed 2010-11 Proposition K assessment.
Bernice Hollins, Office of the CAO. The Proposition K program, currently in its 13th year of a 30-year authorization, collects $25 million in annual assessments for acquisition and development of recreational sites and facilities. The annual assessment report provides funding recommendations for the upcoming 5-year cycle, adjustments to the current year budget, and satisfies various administrative requirements of the program. At this point, adoption of the report would only authorize current year adjustments and scheduling of a public hearing for the June 2nd council meeting, at which time action can be taken on next year's proposed expenditure plan that must be approved prior to June 30th to avoid funding loss. To provide a brief overview, there are 3 categories of current year funding recommendations: reprogramming of project allocations due to changes in project status, funding environment, and site conditions, award of $3.2 million in maintenance funds to 108 projects that include prior year unspent monies, and a total of $2.34 recommended for city-operated facilities. Lastly, award of $3.6 million in current year inflation funds will be recommended under separate cover prior to the public hearing on June 2nd. The proposed expenditure plan for next year includes $4.7 million for capital projects, $700,000 for administration, $2.8 million for maintenance of completed projects, $3.8 million for inflation awards to construction contracts for next year, debt service of $3 million for previously bonded projects. There is also $3.5 million programmed in the city budget to reimburse the general fund for project delivery costs incurred by Bureau of Engineering and contract admin. Once
So this is going to be in full council, and you can repeat all this in full council?
Yes.
So I would appreciate if that could be done, Bernice, as well as what's the average estimate cost per parcel for this?
I wouldn't be able. Neil, are you able to?
Yeah. Hello, Councilman again, Neil Drucker. It's approximately $20 for a residential single-family parcel average size.
$20, very good. Now, you ever read USA Today? USA Today, the newspaper? They had a graph on it, and they had the United States, and it had, how many people do you think live in the Eastern time zone, Neil?
400 million.
No, percentage-wise.
Oh, percentage-wise?
Of the Americans.
30%?
47%. How many live in the Central time zone?
I guess, 10%.
28%. How many in the mountain time zone?
6%.
6%, very good. And how many in the west,
There.
in the coastal time zone, the Pacific time zone? It's 16. So I was just thinking about this because I look at your report. Are we dollar for dollar in where the population is of the city on some of these distributions of these programs? Because I saw that graph, and you know how we always say we never get the money back from Washington? Well, the reason why, 47% of the Americans live in the Eastern time zone and 28% live in the Central time zone. So anyway, it's just something to look at. I'm not going to hold anything up, but to see where the population is, and then probably have another factor of age, because as the city was planned later on, it was planned in a better way, where there are parks and space and open space within an area. So just a thought. But Bernice, we'll hear this full thing in council, and I thank you for the detailed report.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, number 5.
Okay, and
Then 4 to council.
thank you. Number 4 is then approved. And number 5 is a motion, Alarcon Rosendahl, relative to instructing the Department of Recreation and Parks to explore additional ways to honor our veterans, such as special rates for veterans who use the city's golf courses on Veterans Day.
James Ward, golf manager for Recreation and Parks. We applaud this idea. We think it's a great idea. There's a few issues with the golf courses. Currently in the budget, the golf division is going to be a special fund and totally self-sustaining, contributing back to the recreational programs of urban youth. But there's 2 issues. Veterans Day is a holiday, and we have holiday rates. And currently, any discounts could affect our revenue for the...
Why don't we do this? Why don't those who were not veterans have to pay more on Veterans Day?
Well, we do charge a holiday rate.
No, let's say you're a veteran and I'm not. And we go over to Wilson Harding, and we go up to the starter, and they say, okay, I'm a veteran. All right, you get in for $10. You're not a veteran? Usually you have to pay $15, or what's the starting fee at...
Currently, it will be $36 on that day.
$36, so you got to pay $46 if you want to golf with on that day. I would just say that if you have that complicated problem, because anyone who ever served, and I didn't serve, but anyone who ever did serve should get recognized in some way. But why not make the person that they're with, pay a higher fee that day if it's on Veterans Day, and they're in essence paying their friend who served the country.
The second issue is...
You got that idea? If that's a problem, because you have holiday pay problems. That's what you got, right?
Yes. The other issue we have is documenting that they've been in the military. Currently, right now, the only information I'm aware of is called a DD 214 discharge document that's issued to a veteran as their discharge. And there is no ID card that a veteran carries with them. So it's going to be difficult for our starters to identify who is a veteran and who's not.
All right, look at this and come back and report in 30 days.
Yeah,
Veterans Day is in November.
We're glad to look into it.
30 days.
Support it.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. How's your father? How's your dad?
Everybody's doing well.
Good. Okay, good. Thank you. His dad was one of the great assistant general managers of the Park Service. Number 6. We're holding that one for 30 days, Erica.
And number 6 is a motion, Labange Smith, relative to instructing the Emergency Management Department and any other city departments, including the LA Fire Department and the LA Police Department, to report on earthquake preparedness in the city of Los Angeles.
Great. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Mike Williams, Los Angeles Police Department, along with Lieutenant Maria Costa from Emergency Operations Division. Councilman, we at the Los Angeles Police Department have a number of initiatives and quite a number of training initiatives in the process to prepare our employees while they're on duty as well as off duty for a catastrophic earthquake. And I'll just speak to some of those initiatives. We have at the police department what we call area standing plans. And what that does for each of the 21 police stations, there is an annex in a large binder that each watch commander supervisor is required to be conversant with, that talks about what to do when we have a catastrophic earthquake. Also in those standing plans, it talks about where we can locate or relocate. In the rare instance where a building collapses, the station itself collapses, it talks about the communication processes that we have in place, the alternate communication processes that we have in place when in fact, when and if we have a catastrophic earthquake. One of the things that we're concerned with, and it came up in Katrina back in '05, was the lack of response of employees, specifically police officers. In New Orleans, there was not only a problem with employees getting to work to report for duty, there was also a tremendous problem with employees not wanting to go to work because they weren't prepared. They didn't have an earthquake, or I should say a preparedness kit for an emergency such as that. They were concerned about their families. So we've addressed these issues. We have put into place training as well as direction. We've given directions to our officers and civilian employees as to what they need to do prior to that event, so that when and if we have that major earthquake, they can feel confident that their loved ones are taken care of. And that, you know, that is one of our major concerns at this point, getting people to work. One of the other initiatives...
Also, one the name of Officer Clarence Dean, who's coming to work.
Right, and went off the freeway on his motorcycle.
Yeah, in January 9th,
yes,
1994, when the freeway, coming down the freeway, and the missing piece of the freeway took his life.
Yes.
So I want to remember him as one who did.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the other issues that we're concerned with, and we're taking steps to correct that problem, is identifying the individuals throughout the city that need to be transported from various locations around the county, the greater Los Angeles area, so that they can do their jobs at the EOC. That includes department heads, that includes individuals that are assigned to the Emergency Operations Center. And that is an ongoing effort that we're engaged in. We have been for the last several months with the fire department, and as well as EMD, Emergency Management Department, as well as Department of Water and Power. And those types of things are what we're doing to better prepare ourselves. With regard to that, we're talking about the use of our helicopters. We're talking about pre-designated locations that individuals are to report to, be they airports, or they may even be schools, places that can be secured so that they can report to those locations at specific times and specific intervals, so we can transport them to downtown Los Angeles or wherever the EOC's been designated.
I also wanted to ask about the CERT program. You're familiar with the CERT program?
Yes.
Yeah. I also thought it was important to look to beyond that. I used to coach high school football, and I thought just last year I listened to Lucy Jones talk, and I said we should make every high school football team and every track team and every marching band somewhat like, I don't want to call them junior CERT members, but CERT trained, because there's a resource necessary, I think, in some ways to look at that. And I pick on athletes or musicians because they're usually used to someone directing them,
right?
You know, for somewhere. So if we can look at that, it's working further with the schools. I just think it's real important. We do know there's going to be another earthquake. We don't know when, and preparedness is the number one thing. And Anderson Cooper did a story. I don't know if you saw it in the police department.
Anderson Cooper 360.
Yeah, and Los Angeles is the Los Angeles, Jakarta, Tehran, a city in China, and one of the city of the most vulnerable. 4 earthquakes in the waiting. We're 170 years from our last major quake, but we're the most prepared. They gave us credit there. We'll get you a copy of that. I just think it's something we should constantly talk to remember. Okay. You grew up in Los Angeles, Commander?
Yes, I did.
You remember the last Friday of the month, the air raid sirens?
Yes.
They come on, yeah. And I think we need to do that once a month, somehow, some way, to remind people we do live in an earthquake zone, and we are prepared to respond, but it's going to take total cooperation to try to get to it.
And through EMD and through some the initiative of both the police and fire departments, we are on a regular basis training with those entities. We're looking at the interoperability of our communication systems and what have you. We have a system that has been built by Raytheon to allow us to talk to other agencies, both local, regional, and federal. One thing I want to mention about preparedness, and Council Member, you talked about being prepared. If you look at what happened in Chile, Chile was considered one of the most prepared countries in the world for earthquakes. And even with their preparedness level, they had some serious issues. So that is a template that we need to look at, and we have been looking at to better prepare ourselves for the next catastrophic earthquake.
Right. Well, what if we, I know I'd like to do this tomorrow, but because of the budget cycle and probably public safety is not going to, we're not going to bring this forth to council, but maybe in the next 30 days we could make a report and we could look at maybe towards the end of June having it try to come to council just so council members hear again the importance, and also utilizing the housing that Recreation and Parks is so key in this element. It's not just the police and firefighters who will be fighting to get to work. Those Recreation and Parks personnel to open their gymnasiums, their facilities for housing.
Right. And as you well know, Councilmember Parks has done a fabulous job in working with the police department, fire department, and all emergency responders when we've had people displaced because of the fires, assessment on fires, and what have you. And we continue that relationship.
Very good. Lieutenant, anything you want to say?
He said it all, sir.
How about Charles Roper? Is he still come by at all? Lieutenant Roper?
Captain Roper.
Yeah,
Captain Roper.
He's out to pasture. He's retired.
He's retired. All right. Well, he did a good job there. Yeah. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you
very much. Bye-bye. So I'll connect with the Public Safety Committee and we'll schedule this in the future. Time to be determined. Thank you, Commander. Next item.
And item number 7 is a report from the Los Angeles Department of Aging relative to approval of amendments to the fiscal year 09-10.
Let's take 7 and 8 together, so save James the trip.
Okay, and number 7 is for the area plan budget and the nutrition economic stimulus plan budget. And number 8 is also the report from the LA Department of Aging relative to major financial adjustments to senior services contracts and technical adjustments to the health insurance counseling and advocacy program.
Good morning. James Don, Department of Aging. The department is requesting authority to accept 2 contract amendments from the California Department of Aging. The first contract amendment is for additional $1.1 million in one-time only funds and an increase of $203,533 to our baseline funding. It also requests authority for amendment number 1 to our nutrition stimulus program funding, and that's really a technical adjustment. The state's original award was for $1.1 million, split into 2 fiscal years, and the amendment number 1 simply rolls over the unspent funds from the first fiscal year into the current fiscal year so that we can access those funds for meals. The second request that the department has is actually to take all those funds and actually execute contracts with our service providers so we can spend the money on services.
Very good, James. Thank you. So we're going to recommend approval?
Yes.
And keep going. We got the Department of Aging standing alone still. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Item number 9.
Okay, and for clarification, items 7 and 8 are approved.
Approved, yes. Thank you for clarifying that.
And would you like to take number 9 and 10 together?
Sure.
And 9 and 10 are reports from the Department of Cultural Affairs relative accepting a grant from the California Arts Council. Number 9 is for $15,000 for the period October 1, 2009 through September 30th, 2010. And item 10 is a supplemental grant from the amount of $805 from the California Arts Council.
Hi.
Good morning. These
Go ahead.
These are
identify yourself for the record.
Saul Romo, Assistant General Manager for the Department of Cultural Affairs. And what we have before you are grant applications and grant acceptances for the California Arts Council. We have been very successful in securing grants from the California Arts Council to supplement our Music LA program. So what you have before you on item number 9 is this year's grant application and our acceptance to supplement our summer program. And number 10 is a technical correction from the previous year's grant application. We actually were successful in securing a modest increase in our grant application amount of $805. And pursuant to the controller's instructions, we're coming before you for a technical correction that's necessary.
Thank you very much. And item number 11, just to call that, we 11 too?
And 11 is a grant application from the Department of Cultural Affairs requesting approval to apply to the National Endowment for the Arts in the amount of $250,000 for the Mayor's Institute on City Design 25th Anniversary Initiative.
This application is for a planning grant that we're submitting alongside with the CRALA and the Planning Department of the city and the Actors Fund, which is a nonprofit organization. And it is to get a planning monies to hopefully develop over 100 live workspaces and a small theater for artists in the Broadway corridor section.
How many in Los Angeles live workspaces do we have?
I know that the Actors Fund has one, and it particularly...
Just one space?
That the Actors Fund has. I don't know about other ones for artists.
Your good assistant general manager should make sure you find out next time what it is. You talk to one of those realtors, they'll tell you all that stuff.
I think these are certainly initiatives that under the new leadership in the department that we're trying to pursue, and we're trying to identify them and create new live workspaces here within the city.
Right, but I would just, CRA would have some of that information, so it'd be good to have, because there's been a...
Absolutely.
Live work has been next to the word infrastructure, live work has been the most used new government speak for the last decade plus.
Right. This is a particularly exciting grant because it'll be a public-private partnership, which is another one of those words that is government speak right now, and that would result in an investment of over $10 million in the Broadway corridor. CalArts is also part of this endeavor. They're wanting to build a campus here in Los Angeles on top of the one they have in Valencia. This was a very competitive process. We had to submit a letter of intent. Only a handful of applications from the letter of intent were chosen in the whole United States.
Well, I know how dedicated you are in your department and your laser-like action on trying to get grants, so continue ahead.
Thank you.
We'll recommend approval on all three.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I want to just hold this for just a second here, if I could, just hold off. Chief, can I ask you a question over there? This is hold the items on the desk for just a moment. Okay. Other city business, I asked the chief. This is our first employee. 1974. All right, we're back in session right now. Thank you very much. Now the next items that we have.
We have item number 12 and 13.
Correct. We do have cards on 12 and 13.
Correct.
We have 11 cards, and I have a council this morning, so I'm going to have a 1-minute public comment. If you need more time, please take it, and we'll can we put these two together?
Correct, yes.
Okay, good, very well.
Okay.
First, we're going to sing it up here. We're going to call on Suzanne Tara, Sam Anderson, Taylor Gilbert, and Nathan Singer. Want to sit up there and make your comments?
And for the record, item 12 is a report from the CAO relative to the status of RFPs for the proposed partnering of cultural affairs facilities. And item 13 is a motion.
Let me ask the public commenters, would you rather have the department report first? Yeah. Okay, all right, okay. I saw that. Very good. All right, so we're going to hold that till afterwards. That's okay, that's okay.
All right, and for the record, item 13 is a motion, Han Labange, relative to forming a working group for the purpose of drafting an RFP to transition 14 city-controlled cultural art facilities to public-private partnerships.
Hey, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Jacqueline Vernon Wagner, Office of the City Administrative Officer, and it's item 12 on the regular agenda. It is a report from our office regarding the status of the RFP. The report is actually outdated at this point. It was dated supposed to have been presented on March 24th, 2010 in council and was referred here. Since that time, we've had a number of meetings, but we have been unable to put together the RFP. So I think the department needs to report on the issues that are still outstanding and
work from there.
And work from there.
Sorry.
Okay. Thank you. As you know, the RFP process has become a little bit more complicated because of another process that is taking place right now, which is the determination of a citywide policy for leasing and selling city property to nonprofit organizations. Many of the items and recommendations within that policy would have a direct impact on anything that we write up for an RFP. Therefore, we have Saul, our Assistant General Manager, has currently drafted an RFP with the existing policy that was entertained by the Budget and Finance Committee about 2 weeks ago. Subsequent to that, and that's what item 13 is about, last week I had a meeting with the key staff members of Councilwoman Han's office, her chief of staff and her legislative deputy and her field deputy for St. Pedro. And we thought that it would make sense to have a formal committee try to come up with a cogent formula for partnering out the 14 art centers and theaters that the Department of Cultural Affairs wishes to find partners for, because in essence our task is to find operators that will continue the programming and services that the department has undertaken, and
in lieu of the department's activity.
I'm sorry?
In lieu of the department, there's 14 facilities.
14
and just let me just say how I see it. There's 14 city buildings.
Correct.
In those 14 city buildings, I want to see people who are doing the work of what the art department would do, cultural affairs, if it was overly funded, okay, where you could do that. But that is not possible in the near future or in the history. We had to have partners. So if you have someone, let's say in San Pedro, that has a building that you own, that you are satisfied that they're operating in a non-discriminatory factor and all the other laws that apply to a city building and city function, but they're doing the job, we should pat them on the back and say, keep doing it.
Right, but instead what we're doing is, what the current policy is envisioning is full cost recovery.
I got it. But if we have partners, it's just like we have parks, and if someone, we own the park, we own the grass, we water the grass, but if someone has a program there for children, youth, that's doing the art job, which is good. That's good. So we're on the same page.
Correct.
So I think this working group that Ms. Hahn and I envisioned would come up with criteria that would make a determination. I don't want to make a determination unless the department recommends that a facility on a street that is a city building that is doing work in the art community is justified. You know, it's justified. And then we'll have to, it's not costing us money.
Mm-hmm.
Are these facilities paying their own utilities at this time?
No.
No, okay. So that may be something that that's the one push, unfortunately, that I don't like, but there's a reality that we're trying to push even on our own park system to pay water bills and power.
I think that I understand that the wish of this particular committee is to cast this as a partnership opportunity that would sustain services and programs in the communities that we've been in the past.
Write that down, Lisa.
And so we will work with our colleagues and bring you back a set of recommendations to see if you agree with the course of action, and that these are organizations that are going to be able to sustain programming
Right.
when we can't.
I want to ask the CAO, are there a number of other buildings, this is just 14 buildings, are there a number of other buildings that you know of, or other representatives of the CAO's office, that have other community organizations that may or may not be under the umbrella of a city department like Cultural Affairs?
Yeah, I believe so. Recreation and Parks would be one.
Well, but they may be doing things for Rec and Parks. What I'm trying to do is give you an umbrella. And that umbrella will say, anybody who's under our umbrella, we want to protect, because they're doing our work, which is important. Our work is the mission of providing arts for the community of Los Angeles. So what I'm saying is, let's say if I'm a political, or a political organization that may have been in a city building rent-free or something like this, or whatever. Maybe that's a different, a different discussion for the council, but this is what the art department, these are 14 centers. This is what Al Nodell started when he was the general manager of Recreation and Parks, old form that went to municipal arts, that went to cultural affairs, that now morphed into partnerships. It's all partnerships. So with that wording that you just gave me, I may want to have a report issued from this committee that tasks you with a 90-day trial. I think it's something we have to do over the course of the next budget year. I don't think it's something that we're going to be able to do by July 1st. This may be in conflict with my other colleagues, but I think we should argue that point, because you're providing a service that we can't provide. And you're doing the work that we would like to do, but you're doing it.
And we certainly don't want to see any of the art organizations or our service providers go away. And so what we're looking at is we had a business
Well, we
model.
invited them in. We invited them in, I hate to say it, in the last century. And now in the new century, we're saying get out. We shouldn't do that. And that's just a short period of time. Now, over the course of time, maybe things could be elevated as far as whatever these cost recoveries, which they're trying to do everything cost recovery, but I think there's some benefit to just, if you're doing well and you're engaging people, that's our benefit. That being said, do we have enough out of that, Madam Clerk, to make a recommendation? But we do want the public comment, but on the lines of what Ms. Garai said. So, does everybody at the center table know where I'm pointing?
Yes, I appreciate the time limit, the 90 days, because the reason why our report is outdated is we had anticipated the release of the RFP by mid-April. So if we could...
But it's not going to, the RFP's not going out right now.
No, it's not going out, so if we could give a target date, I really appreciate your giving them the 90-day requirement. And if
You would like that, CAO also supports 90-day requirement?
Yes. Yeah.
Good. 90-day brings us to September, right?
And if the department could also provide copies of the amended RFP, or the updated
Right.
RFP, whatever the latest version is that they have.
Right. So it may be 100, I'll say 120. That gets us to September. The reason why I say that, because nothing happens in August, okay, other than what has to happen. So to be fair to everybody and to be fair to the council, say bye, because we don't want to have an alarming activity when council's on recess, when the end of the summer is, when people may be wherever they're getting back into school, but sometime by mid-September, that's 120 days from now, there will be an RFP that says this is what our goals and objectives are.
Yeah.
And also the committee that should be made up of people who are in the community or benefited from it. It'd be no more than 7 to 11 to 15 maximum, not a giant committee of people who could make an assessment. I'm not pointing at anybody, but you're doing a good job, you're doing a good job, you're doing a good job, you're okay. She's very okay. She's a great deputy for Ms. Hahn. I'm just kidding. I had to do that. All right, let's take, do you understand what we're doing?
Yes, I understand what you're doing. I just, in terms of the committee members, the working group, city employees, volunteers,
Well, I just wanted to, well, probably what would be, make it easy would be that each council person recommend one person to be on the advisory group, who is a someone in the arts community, someone in the arts. Or it could be anybody they want. Let's just say it's somebody who's a real estate person, because then they'll argue that. Just say, represent a citizen in good standing.
And I'm sorry, how would they know this? You would write them, all the council members, a memo?
Let's say we did the RFP and went out, and then there will be the review panel will be designated.
Oh, no, I'm not talking, I thought you talked about in order to create the RFP, you wanted a committee.
A working group.
Well, I think you guys could do that. You could reach out on that. I just think once we get the RFP and we want to vet it all out, I need a working group. I need people who really know it. There was a story in the Times recently that talked about political offices making determinations. I don't think we're artists. We are, what did you say?
Policymakers.
Policymakers. So we're actors. So, no. I would say 3 people are listening in this room. Okay. I will say that I think we have to work that out. And Erica, let's work it out. As we set it forward to council, that we recommend that there will be that to devise the RFP, that the CAO work with the Cultural Affairs Department to come up with what we need from council is a direction to you to say we want umbrellas. This is an umbrella. If you're under the umbrella, we want to protect you.
That would really be helpful.
That's the thing. If you're not under the umbrella, then there's another, then you go in that line, and then you got to show why your purpose is there. If your purpose is there for the people of all Los Angeles, we can support you. If your purpose is there just for you internally, you may have to find another home.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. All right, let's take public comment.
And for clarification, on the 120 days report back, is that for a status update?
No, that's for to have the RFP done, right? Okay.
Yes.
That makes the CAO one at 90. I gave an extra 30 days because of the calendar. So 120, report back with an RFP.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and let's have an update in, very good. Let's have an update in 30 days. Keep this on the agenda so we keep it right in front of us. Okay, that gives us some direction. That was a good suggestion. Let's call those. If I could call them again. Nathaniel Singer, is that right? Taylor Gilbert. Sam Anderson. Okay, all right, here we go. Yep. State your name.
I'm Sam Anderson, the co-artistic director of the Road Theater Company at the Lancashire Arts Center.
Great.
I'm Suzanne Terra, Managing Director of the Lancashire Arts Center.
Taylor Gilbert, a co-artistic director and founder of the Road Theater Company at the Lancashire Arts Center.
And I'm Nathan Singer. I am the president of the Barnsdall Arts Center Student Advisory Committee.
Great. Okay, make your comments.
I think that you provided us with what we need in your directions to the department. I think in particular, I speak for the Barnsdall Arts Center. I think we have an unusual situation, and it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all RFP as far as I think the Barnsdall Arts Center is concerned. There are issues with the bequest that Eileen Barnsdall made and the city agreed to, and I think there are unique situations on the Hill that have to do with our art center. So, yes, we would like input. And, again, like I said, I don't know if the RFPs are going to be the same for all the art centers. I don't know about the other art centers. But we have a unique problem, and we're concerned. The 500 or 600 people that I represent are concerned. And I've seen you on the Hill at wine tastings and stuff, and you have a
Not
good time.
Not drinking wine, though. I don't drink wine.
But, we had
for the record, Madam
good
Clerk.
time. I know you had a good time when you were up there. So
it's a beautiful.
It's a good place.
All art centers are tremendous assets, and we just have to enhance them so that they become even greater. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm speaking for the Lancashire Arts Center. First of all, I want to thank you, Councilman LaBonge, and the panel today, Ms. Garay and Mr. Romo. We have been very lucky, fortunate to be a part of the North Hollywood area, to be in the center for the amount of time that we have been in. We love it there. We want to continue working for the city of Los Angeles. We have done over 100,000 hours of programming, a lot of which has been low-cost programming, which was part of what this plan was. our contract all about. It's just really important to us to be able to continue the work that we do, knowing that we've been designated as one of the treasures of Los Angeles to still have a home. We're willing to participate in any way to get this RFP out there if we can participate in telling you what our needs are and what we have to offer, which is something I don't think that people have really understood as far as financing.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Mr. Labange and Lisa, I met you on Saturday at the firehouse. And thank you for inviting me here. We've been here in the past speaking about the attributes of the Lancashire Arts Center to the district, both our educational, artistic, and economic benefits to the community. And our concerns are that our contract is up with the city on June 30th. We are in the midst of opening the last two shows of our 19th season, playing in rep. My contract hasn't been fulfilled, and my salary hasn't been paid since December 30th of 2009.
Who pays your salary?
The money comes from a contract with the city.
Right.
Through DCA.
Through DCA. So we have fulfilled all of our programming in excess. We inhabit the historic landmark building, the Lancashire Arts Center, and we just don't know how to move on from here. The theater can't continue to keep me on without pay, and yeah.
To continue that,
you could finish your line, Susan.
Oh, and you know, we're just trying to figure this out, and so we'd like to, as Taylor mentioned, contribute in whatever way possible, you know, to the RFP, but you know, without being able to keep me on, you know, to cover these responsibilities, we don't know how to move forward.
And just a technical question: when do you expect to get paid?
She's been paid through us, but that's depleted our funding, so we can't produce.
When do you get the money from Cultural Affairs?
I spoke with Saul and was told that they couldn't guarantee payment.
Oh, here's a microphone that's open over here, Saul. I think just explain that for me because this is new to me. For the record.
Saul.
Sure. Well, first of all, I think what we can do is come back to you in 30 days with the long-term recommendation for the organizations that are currently partnered through us, because the theater company is a very unique situation because of their operation, they can't live month to month even on a bi-monthly contract because they have to plan out their season, they have to, you know, make their own contractual obligations, they have to go into a more of a long-term operating plan.
All right.
And
so we're coming back on 30 days on this one, right?
Correct.
You'll have an answer in 30 days? Okay.
Because we certainly have the funding to continue the financial support to these organizations in our operating budget as recommended for next year, so that as we go through this long-term RFP process, as we go through the RFP process, we would like to see a continuity of service and at least let them know that there's still a term for programmatic activity that they could do without having to worry about their monthly paychecks and their monthly operational expenses, because we don't want to hinder them any more than we can. So we currently have.
When do you think you get paid?
Well, we have.
Where's the money now? Is it in
the money right now? The money right now is in our appropriations. The key is, in order to get the money from me to them, I have to execute a contract amendment, and that contract amendment is currently going through the ED3 review process.
It's
going through review by the Office of the Mayor. It's going through review of the CEO.
So you expect?
And our recommendation, at least as my recollection, is that we extend the contract not just through this fiscal year, but through the end of the calendar year.
Is there anything I need to do to help push it along? Because it seems like from December to May is a long time. I think
if we need you to push anything along, we'll come back to you, before the 30 days are up, telling you where we are and if we need to push.
So you'll have it done in 30 days. Good job. I like that.
Well, we'll see if we can.
All right.
It's out of my hands.
I just need to hear that. Give us some guideline that we could do that. Okay, thank you.
The last thing we just wanted to say is this situation for us is nicely complicated in a way by the fact that the theater is one of 4 that was selected by the Community Redevelopment Agency when they came into North Hollywood as part of their arts retention program. And through them, we had a years-long series of arts management workshops, which was like going to grad school again. And as a result of that, the CRA provided us with new seats for the building, new sound equipment, and a new signage for the building. The signage, we can't actually,
We can't continue.
we can't
until we
continue
have a
until we
contract,
find out whether or not we're
obviously.
going to be there
Got it.
without the
I got it.
contract.
I got it, yeah.
That
So we were at the
complicates
procurement
everything as
office
well.
yesterday morning, but
Yeah. All right, well, good. Thank you very much. We'll talk. I do want to post one sign in front of your place, the historic art center.
Yes.
Of the former DWP.
That's correct.
Yes.
Art Modern Bill Center.
Yes.
You know, they used to do that. Okay, thank you very much.
Used to be a showroom, yes?
Okay, yeah, you got it. All right, good.
Thank you.
Is this your first trip to City Hall?
No, this is my third.
Third, all right. You been to the tower?
Yeah.
All right, good, okay. Thank you very much. All right, let's call Robert Farrell, Paul Gamberg twice, Jacqueline Kerr, and Mr. Singer. If you want to, you spoke to both issues, so you filled out 2 cards. Great, thank you. Okay,
Councilman, good morning.
good morning.
My name is Robert Farrell. I'm here representing the Coastal San Pedro Neighborhood Council in support of a position that says that the Grand Vision Foundation be given the opportunity to manage the Warner Grand Theater on an interim basis until this RFP process is finished. As you so aptly heard just a few moments ago, this is a complex problem. It's going to be 14 establishments with 14 unique situations. We believe ours, meaning no disrespect to anybody else in the city, we believe that ours is ready to go right now with the existing nonprofit Grand Vision Foundation. And we would like to ask that perhaps be pulled out, give us the opportunity to move ahead with that, negotiate something with Cultural Affairs, and come back in 30 days.
Good, now let me ask a question. Is this possible for Grand? What department are you with, ma'am? That's okay, that's all right, I'm teasing you.
My understanding was that the city attorney said that it would change the RFP process if
I will clarify that. I'll work with Ms. Hahn, who's very anxious to solve this, so we will get that answer for the Grand Theater. Thank you, Mr. Farrell.
Thank you very much.
Paul.
The devil's in the details, Mr. Labange, as you well know. I want to start with 12, because there are 2 items here, so I'd like to take the first minute on 12.
We'll just take 1 minute each. We combined them both. Thank
Okay.
you. And if you need more time, take it.
Oh, thank you so much. I've submitted written documents. I'm not going to deal with what's in them because you have them before you in the record.
Right.
But I'm going to give you the key salient real amendments that would make this thing have a little more teeth. We'll go back to the time this room was full on March 22nd. And realize that we started something with the public arts 1% that's still needs to come back to you because it's not done.
Right.
Moving on to the history, I just want to correct a quick piece of history. Nodell did a fabulous job. I've known you, Mr. Nodell, Al Nodell I know him too, done a fabulous job, respected all, but it started earlier. This city is unique. What makes it unique and wonderful in Los Angeles is there's a huge base of art support that started in 1927 with an oil heiress giving 11 acres to the city, provided it be used for art purposes. And in 1946, the first art center, way before Mr. Al Nodell, was dedicated. So I just wanted to correct that to understand that we've changed public policy in a way that we're attacking our own identity, and we need to. You're the champion. So I'm preaching to the choir in a sense, but parks and art, this is important stuff, and the process that's going on here, I'm dealing with S-195 now. The one thing that needs to be changed, 2 things. We brought this, I've been following every nuance of policy on this. We went before the CAD Commission, we said, please involve, I've got 4 roles for BACSAC. I have to work on curriculum, I have to work on history, I have to work on fundraising, and now I'm stuck on advocacy, and I'm saying involve us, because this thing is tragically flawed. You cannot ask these folks to do certain things like maintain the exterior of buildings, which is in something that you need to pull in, which is 08- whatever it is about the leases, because it's all imprinted as new policy, it's overlaid in a way that makes fundraising impossible. How do you raise funds for an arts center? So let me stay with 195, and then I'll go to the other, item 13.
Complete your matter now.
Okay. The last sentence on 195 is the most important thing to do is to keep a low-cost, high-quality program. So you have to put a rate cap into the RFPs. Now I'm going to the next item. The most important thing to do about item 13, and the only reason I filled out the against card, is two things. You need to have a working committee consisting of the people who have real-time connection to these centers. I have since the 70s, really.
Right.
And we have to input to it, because you can't have, in item 13, there are things loose in the policy that say the city can get rid of these art centers in 30 days for any reason. How the heck can you raise funds if that's allowed to stand? So you have to have some intelligent advocacy representing the communities.
So to say that, instead of a 30-year drop, do you think a 5-year lease?
You need 10? You need the longest possible lease for fundraising purposes. Okay. If you're going to make it 10 with 5 renewable. So all I'm saying is make sure there are two things we need on 13. We need participation in the process, and we need to do that in a way that doesn't compromise the process, and we need the city attorney to tell us that, because Backsack, for instance, probably will not be a bidder, but we're operating the classes. We want to participate.
Thank you very much. Mr. Singer, you took your time.
I'm on his side.
You're a good job. Very good. Ms. Kerr.
I'm just concerned about Jacqueline Kerr, Barnsdall Art Park Foundation. I think Saul pretty much answered my concern about the money involved. We're concerned about at this point, how are we going to get through to September? Is money allocated? I mean, does the city council know there's money allocated and everybody's clear with this? We've got art classes. We've got maintenance. It's a long time to go. We're going to welcome it, and it'll give us a good deal more time to establish. But I was concerned, and that was my question. And as I said, Saul pretty much answered it.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kerr.
I just wanted to provide, Jackie Vernon Wagner again, I just wanted to provide assurances to the existing partners, of which there are 6 that I'm aware of, with month-to-month contracts. We will do supplementals to extend those contracts until such time that the new operators are found.
If there are any.
If there are any operators.
Yeah. All that gives you a little flexibility. Thank you all very much. Now I'd like to call on Fred, Elizabeth, and Danielle. You state your name. And is Elizabeth here? Did you talk in class, Elizabeth, when you were in school? All right. Welcome.
Hi.
Fred.
Thank you. I'm Fred Allen. I am representing the Grand Vision Foundation here today. I'm the Vice President of the Board of Directors. I'm just here to speak in favor of the Grand Vision being allowed to operate the Warner Grand Theater at the soonest possible time. We've already developed an operating plan that we're fairly comfortable with and could provide on short notice. We have a long history of raising funds to renovate this building. Over the last 10 years, we've spent over $1,250,000 putting in private money into a city building to renovate upholstery, to redo the rigging system, to put in a new cinema sound system, to upgrade the projection system. Just over and over again, we have stepped up to provide what this building lacked. We have huge community support in our community to operate the building. People have for many years said, why aren't you operating the building? And we think we should. We also have members on our board of directors who have operated professional theatrical facilities and stand ready to assist in that endeavor.
Thank you, Fred.
Hi, Elizabeth Liz Schindler-Johnson. Thank you, Councilman Labange, and to Olga and Saul for your support for the arts and trying to navigate this process. I do represent Grand Vision as the president and executive director, and I wanted to say a couple things. One is that we do hope you do address the issue of Grand Vision possibly operating the theater on an interim basis in 30 days, as was mentioned by Mr. Farrell. We also wanted to say that because of our track record, we are confident that we can raise the funds to operate the Warner Grant on behalf of the City of Los Angeles in much of a similar way as the city has been operating it. It's typical in a performing arts venue for the operating budget to be about twice what earned income generates, so our ticket sales and rentals, we would be considered doing well by performing arts standards if we were able to do that. So the other half you need to raise with sponsorships and fundraising. And so that's just a rule of thumb. Well, we know that the Warner Grand is a 1,500 seat. It's our, it's kind of a masterpiece and a white elephant. It's a special case. Of course, we think that we could, we would like to see if we could be your test case for getting started right away. And we hope we do fall under your umbrella. We are not actually sure if we do. The main issue is we would be very happy to pay $1 a year. We think we need a 10-year lease to build the kind of support and belief that we're going to need to make this work. We're really afraid that additional rent would just tip the scales, and we think that we could pay the utilities after about 3 years. We need to get our feet wet, get in there, build up the audience, build up the sponsorship, and then we can do that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Danielle.
Hi. I'm Danielle Brazell. I'm the Executive Director of Arts for LA and a proud resident of CD4. Thank you so much for your incredible leadership on this. This is super tough stuff, and I really appreciate that you're not taking a one-size-fits-all, that you're really working closely with the department and the CAO's office and the community partners to put in a phased-in approach. I mean, this is pretty gnarly stuff, and I think you're doing a fantastic job. I think there's a little bit of confusion, especially with this new proposal by the CAO's office to rescind the nonprofit lease subsidy program across the board for not just arts organizations, but for nonprofits. And we could really use your leadership on that by getting that proposal into your committee to have a full hearing. Yeah. Because the implications of that are going to be huge, not just for nonprofit arts centers, but for the nonprofit sector in Los Angeles. And so I think we need to take a real look at that. And if there's anything we can do to help you with that, please let us know.
Please work with Ms. Schechter, who does a wonderful job.
Lisa's awesome, too, by the way. My gosh. Thank you so much,
Councilman. Thank you very much. Thank you. Susan Oliver. Hi, Susan. Okay, you're on general public comment, so we'll hold you for a second. Stand by. All right, on this item here, we're going to note and file number 12, right, Madam Clerk? Number 13. Correct. We're going to direction on 13.
Correct. You have the two recommendations to report back, one with a status update in 30 days, and that includes the status on the current existing partnerships, and then the second report back is in 120 days with an RFP.
Correct, but we'll be working on it, and we'll have we may have this item every 30 days in committee sometime, just to have a chance for you to come in and tell me we're on the right track or wrong track. Is that okay, Madam City Attorney? That's fine. Thank you very much. Okay, that completes those two items. Now, item for public comment. Please let me call again Susan Oliver of Bates Street.
Yes.
Right, near Fountain Avenue?
Yes.
Right, they're going to close your street for some cultural event on Myra Avenues.
Well, that's exactly what we're going for right now, or at this time in this meeting. We want lots of cultural events. In going for a walk the other night, I realized how many of our community children have no exposure to nostalgic movies, black and whites of the past. My proposal would be to implement a summer series of 2011, which will refresh the public memory of nostalgic comedies of years past. I believe that we could select public parks as well as city streets
partition them off, and creating a venue for people to come and watch movies in the streets and in the parks. An emphasis on younger generations would be executed, familiarizing them with such greats as the Marx Brothers, Abbott and Costello, all the great movies that we grew up with, that I grew to love. It is suggested that studio sponsorship be solicited to provide the feature film of the evening, and in return, vendor space could be provided for the sale and distribution of DVDs and merchandising. In addition, donations could be had within the film community for screening and lighting equipment. Now, I know that there's so much more involved in creating an event like this. However, I think that it can be done with community support. Added to the evening events, I think it would be wonderful to have orchestras that would perform during intermission, and closing, giving the ambiance of the old vintage classic style theater. This would expose so many children to a film style that was so prevalent in past years. I think that orchestra volunteers could be selected from both the private sector as well as the UC systems.
Have you ever done this before, Susan?
No, I have not.
Okay, others have tried, and it's challenging, but I will have you work with Lisa Schechter in my office. You could talk to Symphony and Glen, which puts on concerts in Griffith Park.
Yes.
You could talk to some groups out in the West Valley, or we'll connect you by phone.
Wonderful.
We could talk about that. And I would suggest, since you live on Bates, maybe we could have a contact at KCET, see if you get partnership.
Yes.
There's zero money in the city. All this costs money to do, but maybe we could try to figure a way to help you with some relationships and go on from there.
That would be great. I just came here to ask, how can I make this so? What can I do?
Right.
I would be happy to solicit studios. I think that that may be a viable resource, and I think that there is community support out there, and I look forward to it.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming down, Susan.
Thank you.
All right. Madam CAO, Madam CLA, Madam City Attorney, Madam City Clerk, and Lisa. Okay. Yes, sir.
My name is Robert Farrell. On the question I posed about, within this 30-day period, starting some discussion, Warner Grand Theater, Grand Vision Foundation, and the Cultural Affairs Department to deal with a model to bring back?
Well, I will discuss it. I think work with Councilwoman Hahn. I'm sure they'll open anything that Ms. Hahn says. But basically, we're putting them all 14 together. That's what this general manager said. So it's not, you want to try to break yours off. I don't think we could break it off. If we could, I'd support it, but I think there's a process with the city attorney recommended that it all have to be the same. So let's take it as public comment.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. No other items, Madam Clerk? Thank you, everybody. Have a good day, safe day.